UFC Vegas 92. We return to the Apex. 5-fight main card.
I saw somebody on Twitter said, after UFC St. Louis, we return to the poverty before UFC 302.
Without a doubt, the last fight card before a pay-per-view, a big pay-per-view, and the 3 fight cards after a big pay-per-view, all going to be at the Apex.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's a good business decision, but it's predictable.
I'm cool with it. I like the ability. I don't care the amount of fans. I can't afford to go to all of them anyway.
No,
so
I like watching the fights with a crowd, though.
I do too, but I appreciate the ability to watch the amount of fights.
Yes, I do. I wish they were able to do that, but just every
with
week.
People.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we digress.
Take what we can get.
Let's move on. Main card, 5 fights, as I said.
Luana, Pinheiro.
First one, as you said, Luana, Panero. The Brazilian, taking on the American, Overkill, Angela Hill. Your favorite fighter. As
much as I'm an Angela Overkill Hill hater, I think she's going to win this fight.
She's 11-13 in the UFC, though. 16-13 overall, but 11-13 in the UFC.
She...
Never been KO'd, though.
At one point in her career, she was like, y'all never give me a ranking, give me a ranking, give me a ranking, give me a ranking. Then she beat Mackenzie Dern. Now she deserves the ranking. She has it. Cool.
I think she lost to Mackenzie Dern.
Oh, she lost to Mackenzie Dern.
Yes.
But after that, she won
the
fight
Gomez,
after that.
her last
She beat
fight.
Gomez after that.
She's won 3 out of 4, but still 11-13. How are you ranked in your 11-13 in the UFC?
This is the thing. Angela Hill doesn't get finished.
She doesn't get finished. She doesn't finish a lot either.
No, she wins primarily by decision.
And Pinheiro's coming in. She's 11-2 overall, 3-1 in UFC, coming off of her first UFC loss.
It was a cool ass head kick knockout from Amanda Ribas.
From Ribas.
Yeah.
So how's she going to react to getting knocked out? I mean, your first promotion loss, the way she lost to, is she going to react well? First time getting finished?
If you look at Luana Pinheiro's current strikes per minute and all the the stats of her in the UFC, it's not that she's not striking too little or anything like that. She mixes it up well on the ground and everything, but she's not finishing people in the UFC. And when you go to once again, just stats where she's not finishing people in the UFC, that just makes me lean towards the person who doesn't get finished in the UFC, who has a lot of experience.
But I agree with what you said, but Angela Hill has also lost 7 times on decision. Pinheiro's only lost 1 time. Angela Hill, we know what fighter she is. She's 11-13. I say it again in the UFC. She's won 3 out of 4, but I think the 11-13 is more indicative of who she is than the 3-4. So I think it's going to even out. I think Pinheiro comes in. I think Pinheiro avenges her last loss. I think that's not her.
That's not her?
That's not her.
Who is she?
She had a bad night.
Bad night, okay.
She's going to rebound.
Women's strawweights don't have bad nights.
She's going to beat Angela Hill. She's going to move to 4-1 in the UFC, and she's going to be a girl that a win or 2 away after this Angela Hill win.
You think so?
She can get a title shot.
Okay. Let's see. All right. So as an Angela Hill, I don't want to say hater. As an Angela Hill hater, I hope you're right, but I'm going to go with Angela Hill for this first fight on the main card.
Good luck with that. Let's move to the next fight.
Bantamweights.
Adrian Yanez
taking on Vinicius Salvador.
Yanez started 5-0 in the UFC. He's lost 2 in a row, both by KO. He had a lot of hype. He had a lot of fanfare after the 5-0 start. It looked like he was on his way to being a legit contender. Obviously, the last 2 fights have not gone his way. Can he bounce back? Can he catch his falling career?
Yeah.
Not that this is a fight he needs to win to stay in the UFC, but from where he was when he was 16-3, 5-0 in the UFC, he looked like he was a win or 2 away from a top 5 matchup.
No, you're absolutely right. But it's kind of the same story for Salvador. He's
0-2 in the UFC, both decision losses.
Right. He got a knockout on the Contender Series, which kind of earned him his contract, into the UFC. He's got a unanimous decision loss to Altamirano and a unanimous decision loss to Vergara. I mean,
both guys are going to come in and bang. 14-6.
You kind of have to come in
Salvador,
with this game plan.
14-6, 13 of those KOs. Yanez, as I said, he has 16 career wins, 10 of those KOs.
And he's not taking anybody down. Yanez isn't. He's not going for it. He's not trying.
And Salvador's not really doing much either. So
No.
these guys are going to come in. Salvador actually, in the pre-fight press conference today, actually said, watch, I'm getting a first-round knockout of Yanez. Which I could see happening, but I'm picking Yanez to win the fight. I just think the UFC experience and wins is going to be the deciding factor. I think they gave Yanez, as I said, he was a big prospect, lost 2 in a row. I think they're giving him one to be like, hey, this is your style kind of matchup. Y'all just going to stand and bang, go out and get this win and get back on track.
Yeah, and if you can't do this, then maybe you're
it's
not.
like who we thought you were.
Right, exactly. I agree with you. I think Yanez is going to win. I think he's going to go out there and get the finish. You know, I think the odds are what they are because of
one guy has
who
5
he
UFC wins,
actually
one guy
is.
doesn't have any wins.
Right. Exactly. I think Yanez is going to do fine in this matchup. He's the biggest betting favorite on the night. I think this is his matchup. Let's move on to the next one. Themba Gorimbo in the welterweight division taking on Ramiz Brahimaj.
Brahimaj 10-4 overall, 2-2 in the UFC. Both of his UFC wins and all of his career wins are by submission. That's 10 submissions already in his career. And he's taking on Gorimbo, 12-4 overall, 2-1 in the UFC. Coming off of a win, though. He had a first-round KO in his last fight, and it was only back in February. So he's a guy trying to ride the hot hand. 2 straight wins.
TKO win, first-round knockout, 32 seconds. That's one of those you want to highlight because coming off the momentum of it, sure, but the short, kind of you're in the same camp mode. You never get out of it. It's one of those things that makes you kind of ride high.
I agree.
Makes you hot.
And Brahimaj also coming off of a finish, a rear naked choke, but that was all the way back in February of 2022. So he's had a long time between fights. Can he continue his thing? I don't think the ground game and the submission, one good thing, I don't think you lose that. I don't think you get ring rust from that. I think that's more of a striking and finding your range thing.
I agree with you, but I think the 5-inch reach advantage between Gorimbo and Brahimaj, Gorimbo being the advantage on that side, I think Gorimbo is going to use that to secure, I'm going to say second round finish. Brahimaj is gonna fight early. He's not that he has ring rust or anything, but he's gonna work on his game plan, and I think Gorimbo is gonna just be able to catch him in the second.
I think Gorimbo uses his range, as you said, early on in the fight, but I think eventually Brahimaj gets a hold of him. This fight goes to the ground, and Brahimaj is deadly on the ground. I think he gets the finish. I got Brahimaj by submission. I'm going to go 3rd round submission.
Man, we divvying it up today. Okay.
Let's go co-main now. Khaos Williams, the American, 14-3 overall, 5-2 in the UFC, taking on Carlston Harris, 4-1 in the UFC, 19-5 overall, 2 straight wins for Harris. Khaos Williams, he's won 3 out of 4, 4 out of 6. I think this is going to be a very entertaining fight.
I think the Ox Fighter and Mocambique are going to go at it here. This is going to be a good one. You got 2 guys, Mocambique's 4-1 in his last 5, whereas Khaos Williams is 3-2 in his last 5.
Mocambique's won 7 out of his last 8. His only UFC loss was to Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Which we've not proved anything. We've only seen that he's a certified banger. But
yeah, he's a killer.
He's a dude. So, what do you think happens in this fight? How do you think it goes down? You got, 2 different kinds of strikers here.
I think both guys are strikers, but I think Harris is a little more well-rounded.
Yep.
He's a guy that's a little better on the ground.
Williams isn't going for takedowns at all.
Williams not going for takedowns, but also Williams, he's very durable. He has not been finished.
No.
3 career losses, all by decision.
A little height advantage, or a little reach advantage.
Little reach advantage. I'm going to go with Carlston Harris, though. I think just the way he's been in the UFC 4-1, I think he's been a little sharper. 3 finishes. I think as long as he avoids the KO from Khaos, which I think that's Khaos's best chance to win the fight, is to catch him, KO him. I got Harris winning, and I think he might get a decision. I mean, a finish. I'm thinking submission.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that happening. I think Khaos Williams is going to win. He's 5-2 in the UFC. He's shown that he has power. I think
3 of his 5 wins are by knockout too. So more on your point that he has power.
Right, and 2 of the 3 were in the first round. The third one was in the third round. I think when he does win, he shows through. I think since his last fight, he's got a little confidence back. When you lose, it's kind of, you're down in the dirt and everything like that, even if you lose the decision. But because he's never been finished, he's got a good gas tank. I think this is one of the fights where if with a good camp, he's going to excel. This is one of the ones where if he doesn't win by decision, I think he's going to win by TKO finish.
It's another one we differ on.
Yes, sir.
Not the usual.
Main event. Maybe one of us is stupid. That's all we can say. One of us is dumb this week.
Or we just split it and we're the same.
Or equally dumb.
Main event. Edson Barboza, the Brazilian, 24 wins, 11 losses, 18-11 in UFC. He's been in the UFC since 2010. And he's taken on maybe the undefeated fighter that is talked about the least, Lerone Murphy, 13 wins, 0 losses, 1 draw. He's 5 wins, no losses, 1 draw in the UFC. I mean, he's a guy, he's undefeated. That speaks for itself, including in the UFC. 5 straight wins. I think this is going to be a very entertaining fight. I think this is rightful the main event because I think it's probably going to be the best fight of the night.
Yeah, the guy he drew to, Zubaira Tukhugov, he's gone like win-loss since. I don't think he's a big factor in Lerone Murphy's.
Sometimes it just happens. He had a bad night. He drew.
Bad judges.
Bad judges.
Very possibly.
And then he came in and won 5 in a row.
Right. I think he's shown up well. Lerone Murphy's done everything needed to stay perfect.
But then you look at Barboza. He's an excellent kickboxer, especially for MMA. 13 out of his 24 wins by KO. 8 of those in the UFC. His last fight, he's coming off a decision win. He's won 2 in a row. So he's a guy, he's 38 years old. Had the peak.
Right.
Kind of went down. It looks like he might be coming back up again.
But
late career run.
Something like 63-67% of younger fighters win when they're faced with a significantly older opponent. Like
6-year age difference.
Years.
That's a big deal.
That's a big deal because your reaction time as you get older, it just naturally goes a little bit.
Especially if
your eyesight.
These aren't the smallest guys. I think they're fighting at 155. But
yeah, featherweight for 145.
When you're 38 years old as a heavyweight, it's different than when you're 38 years old as a lightweight.
Absolutely. Obviously, Barboza has a little bit of height advantage, a little bit of reach advantage. They're both orthodox fighters. Barboza's, not really looking to go on the ground that much.
Neither is Murphy. He is
right. He doesn't do it that often.
0 submission wins. 7 of his 13 wins are by KO.
Most of the time when they go for the takedown at that point, it's because they got a wobble. The guy just won't go to sleep, so they take him down to just beat the shit out of him to end the fight. I think on this one, I'm going to pick Lerone Murphy winning the fight. I think this is one of the ones that gives us pretty, not clear standings on where Murphy is, but it gives him, another good test in the future. He's going to have a good call out after the win here, I believe.
I agree with you. I think Murphy comes and gets the win. I think he stays undefeated. As you said, it's going to be a good win if he gets the win, and it's going to be a name you can put on the resume. Because Barboza's a legend in the sport. Even though he hasn't been champ, he's been around a long time. He's put on great performances. We know how good of a striker he is. You get a win against Barboza, you're a legit fighter.
Yeah. I'm not a legit fighter.
Me neither. Barboza would kick my ass.
One shot, I'm out.